Back in the year 2006, Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings films were still on the tips of many fans' minds, and big video game publishers seen this. Various games set in the beloved world of Middle-earth were being released, and EA was the leading publisher during this time. About halfway through the year 2006, EA had announced that they were indeed making a new game, and it was set to be an epic RPG adventure titled The Lord of the Rings: The White Council. The world's leading video game magazine, GameInformer, was called to have an exclusive on the game that would be an upcoming cover story. But in the latest new GameInformer issue that featured Middle-earth: Shadow of War, they mentioned how right before the story dropped on the White Council, the EA called and stated that the game was sadly cancelled. Now, 11 years later, GameInformer released some of the information they received way back when. And you best know we are about to tell you all about what they had to say. Let's get to it. The story of the White Council would have taken place before the events of The Hobbit. So, no Bilbo, no ring, none of the stuff that we are familiar with. The White Council was just as it is in The Hobbit though, including Gandalf, Saruman, Galadriel, Elrond, and Radagast. Just like most RPGs, the game allowed you to choose your race, which even included hobbits, and you could make them the way that you wanted, complete customization. During the first act of the game, players would have had to create a legacy and reputation for their character before the White Council would come in contact with the player. As you would venture through the world, famous characters like Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas would appear, but the devs at that time wanted to stay away from any already existing stories as much as they could. They introduced characters only found in the books in the game, and even mentioned adding an ice Balrog to the game, which in itself is an interesting mental image. In short, they wanted to pay tribute to the aspects people already loved about Middle-earth, but they also wanted to make a new and amazing experience. To help give players more choice, 8 professions were put into the game, and here they are: Craftsman, Burglar, Courier, Outrider, Ranger, Sage, Sheriff, Minstrel. Players had the ability to switch between these at any time, and each of these had a skill tree that would branch out for you to upgrade and improve. Apparently, each of these skills had abilities that could be learned as well, so as you can see, the game was attempting to really give that true RPG experience. Customization, as with most RPGs, was set to have literal hundreds of thousands of options. From spells to paint schemes for your shields, you could craft herbs and go fishing, all in a supposed mini-game-like format. But where in Middle-earth would this game take place? Eredor, a western-northwestern area of Middle-earth, was the land in which players would have been able to roam about, bypassing the typical Rohan, Gondor, or Mordor areas that usually are the place for most storytelling in the Middle-earth franchise. Certain areas of the world would be held off until an appropriate level was earned by the player, and each of these areas would support a vast amount of ecosystems, crazy wildlife, dangerous monsters, and a list of side quests set the game to be something probably similar to The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Certain actions could change the way certain events played out in the future, which would allow for plenty of interesting decision making. While most Middle-earth games up to that point were combo-based button mashers, this game was set to have a combat system similar to that found in the Final Fantasy series. With special abilities and a charge meter, the game would rely on more than just simply spamming your enemies to death. Weapons and armor were earned through the standard RPG style, and all races could collect and use the same equipment. Now, there was set to be some form of online and multiplayer play, with special quests that could support 2 to 6 players, and although it was in its early form, the mode was set to feature clan supporting features like weapon trading and special bonuses for working together. And that is where it all came to an end. Just as the GameInformer issue was in the making, they received the call to stop the story from dropping as the game was going through serious issues. Not long after, this sad truth was now a reality and the game was permanently cancelled by EA. So what could have been? We may never know. It could have been a great adventure in Middle-earth and maybe the best the series had ever brought to the theoretical table. Who knows what could have been? Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War surely take some ideas from this lost game, as many of the RPG elements are finally making it to the forefront of Middle-earth gaming with this new series. The White Council was definitely an interesting idea for Middle-earth, and maybe, just maybe, it was a tragic loss that it was never actually brought out to the fans. So what do you, the residents of DangerVille, think about this lost Middle-earth Lord of the Rings game? Would you have played it if it was released? We need to hear your thoughts. So this has been Jacob. I look forward to seeing you guys in the lands of Mordor.